You're still watching the special year-end recap on Qnews. As we close out 2024, we reflect on the many wars and conflicts that have grappled this year and reshaped the entire world. While the human toll has been staggering, there's another, often overlooked consequences of these wars: their devastating impact on the environment. From the destruction of vital ecosystems to the population of air, water and soil, the environmental damage caused by warfare leaves long-lasting scars and worsening climate change. We explore together how wars, especially in Gaza, have inflicted profound harm on the natural world. Stay with us. Extreme weather reached dangerous new heights in 2024. This year's record-breaking temperatures fueled unrelenting heat waves, drought, wildfire storms and floods that killed thousands of people and forced millions from their homes. This exceptional year of extreme weather shows how dangerous life have already become, with 1.3 degrees centigrade of human-induced warming, and highlights the urgency of moving away from planet-heating fossil fuels as quickly as possible. This year, climate change contributed to the deaths of at least 3,700 people and the displacement of millions in 26 weather events. In a New Year's address, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres expressed a strong sense of crisis over what he called a climate breakdown. Looking back on the concluding year, Guterres said that throughout 2024, hope has been hard to find amid wars as well as the rife social inequalities and divisions. Additionally, he urged nations to make efforts to put the world on a safer path by dramatically slashing emissions. Guterres' message comes as the World Meteorology and Organization warned that 2024 is set to be the warmest year on record.
And supporting the transition to a renewable future. It is essential and it is possible.
In 2024, climate change tightened its grip on the world as new conflicts erupted that deepened ongoing crises and unleashed a surge of climate-fueled disasters. According to the World Meteorological Organization, 2024 is said to be the warmest on record, capping a decade of unprecedented heat fueled by human activities. Throughout 2024, a series of reports from the WMO highlighted the rapid pace of climate change and its far-reaching impacts on every aspect of sustainable development. According to a new report from the World Weather Attribution and Climate Central, climate change intensified 26 of 29 weather events that killed at least 3,700 people and displaced millions others. As climate breakdown accelerates, understanding and minimizing emissions from all social activities, including military actions, is essential. However, emissions from conflict, especially military operations, are often overlooked. In the case of Russia-Ukraine war, researchers found its total emissions were equivalent to the annual emissions of a country like Belgium. Militaries are responsible about 5.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions. making them among the world's top emitters. Amplified by the ongoing destruction of Gaza, the COP28 saw unprecedented attention on the relationship between the climate crises and the peace and security. But military and conflict emissions were again absent from the formal agenda.
The destructive impact of warfare extends far beyond the immediate loss of life and infrastructure. One of the most overlooked consequences is the severe environmental damage that wars inflict on ecosystems and natural resources. Wars disrupt not only human societies, but also the delicate balance of the environment, leaving long-lasting scars on the land, water, and air. Wars typically lead to massive amounts of debris, waste, and pollution. For example, the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, reported that the Israeli aggression in Gaza resulted in 26 million tons of debris, twice the amount seen in the Syrian city of Aleppo. The economic damage to Gaza's ecosystem alone was estimated at $411 million. These figures highlight the scale of environmental degradation caused by conflict, often far exceeding immediate concerns about infrastructure or casualties. One of the most immediate environmental impacts of war is the contamination of water and soil. In Gaza, the conflict led to the destruction of vital water and sanitation systems. The region is now facing an alarming water pollution crisis, with 97% of its water sources contaminated. The bombardment has also caused the closure of wastewater treatment plants, leading to the widespread contamination of coastal waters, soil, and fresh water with untreated sewage. This contamination introduces a range of harmful substances, including pathogens, heavy metals, and microplastics, which pose serious long-term health risks to both human and marine life. The environmental toll extends to the soil, as the use of munitions containing toxic heavy metals and explosives pollutes the land. This contamination not only poses immediate health threats, but also endangers agricultural productivity, with lasting effects on food security. The damage to ecosystem can result in the destruction of habitats, endangering wildlife, and contributing to the loss of biodiversity. Gaza serves as a clear example of how the environmental costs of war are often hidden but profoundly significant. Wars are not only humanitarian crises, but also ecological disasters, causing irreversible damage to natural resources that are essential for survival. The need for global efforts to address these environmental impacts is urgent, as the effects of such a destruction extend far beyond the conflict zone, affecting neighboring regions and the planet as a whole. In the aftermath of conflict, it is crucial to incorporate environmental recovery into the rebuilding process. Sustainable practices must be prioritized to mitigate the long-term damage and safeguard the health and livelihoods of affected populations. Without such efforts, the environmental scars of war will persist long after ceasefire is signed.
To further explore the climate crisis, we are joined from Paris by Shadin Diab, an international expert in environmental sciences, and Professor Domit Kamel, head of the World Environment Party from Beirut. Welcome to Qnews. Ms. Diab, the environmental damage caused by war is often overlooked. In your professional opinion, how significant are the long-term effects of wars on ecosystems and natural resources?
If we look about what happened today in Gaza and also in the world, unfortunately, it's a reversible operation because it's not just a political or humanitarian problem. If you look about the impact, environmental impact of this conflict, you can see the damage caused by this operation, which is extensive bombing of this military, caused water pollution, contamination of soil, and damage to the infrastructure and also the biodiversity. And if we look about what happened for polluted water sources and soil, and all this risk related to the health risk, and it will be for generation and generation. It is hundreds of years, so it is irreversible impact, which is have a very significant long-term effect on the ecosystem and natural resources. So we can look about this conflict of it's really a huge damage for not just for Gaza or for the area itself, but also for the neighbor, because there is no border for this type of pollution, and will be impact of the food security and lead to a big damage to the whole ecosystem and the biodiversity in the area and surround the area itself.
Mr. Kamel, the Israeli occupation forces have caused extensive environmental damage, specifically in Gaza this year. How do modern combat strategies and weaponry contribute to this environmental destruction, especially regarding soil contamination and water pollution? Mr. Kamel, the Israeli occupation forces have caused extensive environmental damage in Gaza this year. How do modern combat strategies and weaponry contribute to this environmental destruction, especially regarding soil contamination and water pollution, sir? Ms. Diab, I think we have a technical problem with a phone call and or the Skype. Ms. Diab, in Gaza, we've seen contamination of water and soil, with 97% of water sources being polluted. How can this severe environmental damage, especially to vital water resources, impact the overall health of both humans and the local ecosystem in the long run?
If we look about the problem related to the water problem and also the soil, we should really focus that which is just something which is irreversible and like heavy metals, hazardous chemicals, and we don't know exactly which with these weapons have like a chemical or another product which could be have like a debris. Could impact the health of the population who just use this water. But also we should think that everything about the groundwater, it is connected. So, we have Jordan or also in Egypt, or this is in all the area which is connected near Gaza, this is a pollution could circulate. So we should also focus on the things which related to the ecocide issue, which is that mean the water. If we look about as an the convention, international convention, which was signed in Rome and Geneva Convention, it is like a war crime. It is not just for the human crime; it is also war crime. So it is an act of ecocide because we have a long impact of destruction for the health of population and we need really investigation at the potential war crime related to the ecocide.
Do you read or do you foresee in the year 2025 a concrete change or a change in climate change that will be for the good of the globe and, of course, of the Gazans?
Could you repeat your question, please?
Do you foresee or do you read that any change is going to take place, or they're going to be working on changing any problem that's taking place in the ecosystem now, or in the climate change that's ruining everything and worsening the situations, specifically in Gaza, for the sake, of course, of the Gazans and the suffering of the Gazan people?
I think that today we are we have two related problems, which is related to the environmental problem, what happened now for long term and also short term, because you are see what they suffering, from the pollution of water resources, not access of all that, the continuous dumping of the population, and also the issues related to the climate change. I think that today, as a human rights, and also what about what we really believe in, that this is a humanitarian, and also it's an international priority about peace and to save the population. I think that today, if we just speak about the issue related to the environmental and the climate change, will not really look about the issue in face just this, but we also try to say that today we need international support, immediate recovery, and not the short term, but also long term environmental damage should be minimized, and also help population to stop this invasion and the risk of their life. So I think that is a huge challenge, but should be the priority for the humanity.
Mr. Kamel, in many cases, wars always leave behind not only human suffering, but also irreversible damage in ecosystems. Can you please, sir, explain why the destruction of infrastructure like wastewater treatment plants and water systems is often ignored in the planning or execution of military operations?
Firstly, the environmental military processes affect directly upon the environmental outcomes on the planet. Firstly, the pollution is resulted of the military component operations through the explosion of the explosion to all the mineral water bottles to be scattered in the air, and also chemical component. Thirdly, the minerals that fall down upon the explosions and that lasts in the earth forever. That would lead to a very dangerous pollution to the soil, and result also the destruction of the life planet, and the destruction of the agricultural crops. And by the studying the environmental impact, it will be the only result and the treatment of the environmental problems existed. And certainly we cannot deal more than 20% of the environmental results, and the other part would be polluted in the air and the chemical and soil polluted for a long period. And today, in a very specific area that are about 20 kilometers, that will find the metals will be scattered in the air, as well as the micronic atoms that cannot be fooled easily. And upon the fall of the rains that would be falling in the land, and would go back to be drunk by the human, i.e. that the wars has two sides. The first one that would lead to the military damages on the earth, but the environment result would affect both sides. Therefore, that would lead us to in a very long-term environmental damages for 10 years, and their impact cannot be erased.
Professor, what are the long-term strategic and geopolitical consequences of environmental destruction caused by wars? Professor, what are the long-term strategic and geopolitical consequences of the environmental destruction that are caused by wars?
This is a very important question, and wars that would affect biologically on all creatures, in particular the human beings, and there are the mass destruction weapons that would affect at a large to the genes of the human being, in addition to the all live creatures in the planet, and would affect it directly, and would also affect the human and would also change the other creatures, which is a very dangerous issue that should get a very great concern. In particular, if there are weapons that contains uranium, for instance, or the organized uranium, and that would affect where they present and where they are exploded. And as always, those persons engaged in the wars, the two teams are affected by the pollutions.
Ms. Diab, as we look forward towards the future, do you think there's an increasing awareness within military establishments about the environmental costs of war? If so, what steps, if any, are being taken to reduce the ecological footprint of military actions?
It's the most important thing that we stop to have military action, and this is the best we need in the humanity, and we also any aggression and action have a reaction. So in order to look about this type of aggression, we should not be accepted in this time where we want to live in peace, and we have this possibility of all population to stay in their land and to have their freedom of being in their land. So I think that's I not believe in that mean when we look about this type of aggression as a possibility to reduce impact. I think that is we should also focus and about the term of ecocide, and should be connected to the war crime. I agree that today we have a lot of things related to the United Nations and all international conventions, which is to speak about the aggression of humanity, but also this ecocide, or this something that I can do the bombing of any, as you say, the land, the wastewater treatment station. They also to use this forbidden weapons and act as in no impunity about this action for to damage all these resources, which is not for me, but is in international convention. It is for all the humanity. So I think that today all this type of aggression should be stopped and to guarantee life and environmental life for generation and human in good and I hope to live in peace.
Of course, we wish you a wonderful 2025 and a better future for the, of course, climate exchange and working harder for a better future for, of course, the entire global. That was Shadin Diab, an international expert in environmental sciences, joining us from Paris, and Professor Domit Kamel, head of the World Environment Party from Beirut. Thank you very much for your insights and valuable informative knowledge. That wraps up our coverage for the environmental impact of wars and armed conflicts in 2024. Stay tuned for the next segment on Iran.